Good morning, Veritas. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2020. I hope everybody is doing well. Let's get jumped right into today's three problems. Okay, so number one says list the multiples of 6 and the multiples of 8. Each list must contain the first 10 multiples. Okay, so this is a little bit of like procedural math. We just want to see how well do you know your multiplication facts. Okay, so multiples are numbers so the multiples of 6 will be the numbers that 6 can multiply to get to. And the multiples of 8 will be the numbers that 8 can multiply to get to. So we need to list the first 10. So basically we're going to list the multiples of 6. So we're going to, what's 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, 6 times 4, all the way up to 6 times 10. And that's the assignment here. So you need to know what multiples are. Multiples are numbers that you can multiply to reach by these two given numbers. So 6 times 1 is 6. So if you don't know your multiplication facts, we really need you to be going on extra math and practicing those or using flashcards at home. But this is another strategy if you don't know your facts yet. If that's 6 times 1 is 6. To do 6 times 2, you can just add 6 more. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 6 times 2 is 12. Then add 6 more. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 24, 30, 36. I'm just adding 6 every time. 42, 48. That's 6 times 8. Plus 6 is 54. Plus 6 is 60. So we have 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 6 times 10 is 60. So we have them all there. If you don't know those multiples, this is something you really need to practice because it's going to help you with every type of math that we are going to be doing this year. Place value, multiplication, division, fractions, decimals. Like, you need to know your multiplication facts in order to be successful. So this is somewhere where we want you to be able to practice here. So that's why I gave you this problem, is just to give you a little bit of extra practice with the vocabulary and with what this means to do. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with 8. 8 times 1 is 8. If you don't know your multiples of 8 yet, just add 8. Use your fingers. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I just added 8. Then I'm going to add 8 more and add 8 more. And once you know your facts well, like some kids, this is going to be real simple. Just keep adding 8. So that's 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. And 8 times 10 is 80. So 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have the first 10 multiples listed for 6, and we have the first 10 multiples listed for 8. And if those were really hard for you, please take the time. Ask your teachers for your extra math passwords. Make sure you're practicing those. That way you can get some practice with that, and it will make some of this more challenging math that we're going to get to and that we have already gotten to. It'll make it a lot easier if you know those multiples and know those facts. All right, so give yourself some snaps if you were able to do that. Nice work. Number 2 says find the sum of 4 5/8 and 3 3/4. So sum is the answer to an addition problem. So it's very important that you know what that means. And we're going to add 4 5/8. So I'm going to get myself plenty of space here. 4 5/8. You can pause this if you need to get yourself some space to work. And 3 3/4. So we are adding 4 5/8 and 3 3/4. I'm just going to double check I have the right numbers. We're adding to find the sum. And now we can get started. Okay, so the problem here is we have eighths and fourths. Those are different size pieces. So that means this whole is broken up into 8 equal pieces, and this whole is broken up into 4 equal pieces. So we need to make them so that they're the same. So I always take the smaller one because you can always make numbers bigger by multiplying. Sometimes you can divide, like you could have divided 8 and made it into 4, but then you can't divide 5. So it's a lot harder to bring the bigger one to make it smaller, and it doesn't always work. So I always start with the smaller one and make it bigger. So we're going to turn 4 into eighths. Fourths are going to change to eighths. So in order to do that, 4 times what was 8? It's 4 times 2. So we need to multiply the numerator times the same number, times 2. We're going to do 3 times 2, and I'll put it here to show you that what we really did, all we did was multiply 3/4 times 2 halves, or 2 over 2. And since 2 halves is the same thing as 1, right? If you had, this is a model of 1 whole. If you had, there's 1 half. If you had 2 halves, you have the whole thing. So we just multiplied by 1. So we're not really changing 3/4. We're just turning it into an equivalent fraction that has the same denominator as 5/8. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 3 times 2 was 6. It's very important that you multiply them both times the same number. That way you're really multiplying by just a fraction that's equal to 1. So now we have 4 and 5/8 plus 3 and 6/8. So the whole number is 4 plus 3 is 7. And then we have 5/8 plus 6/8, so we know that they are eighths. The same size, that's telling us the size of the pieces or how many pieces are in each whole. So that's not going to change. Once they're the same, you leave it the same. And you add the numerator. So 6 plus 5 is 11. So now we have 7 plus, this is a fraction that's greater than 1, because 8/8 would equal 1, and we have 11/8. So let me just draw a little model of this. So if there's 8, then we need to make eighths again. So if we had 11/8, we'd have 8/8 here, and then 9, 10, 11. So what we really have is 7 plus 1 and 3/8, which equals 8 and 3/8 as our final answer. So the answer here, I'm going to go back to that 1 second to clarify that, is 8 and 3/8. You can't simplify 3 and 8. You can't divide them both by the same number to make them any simpler. So that is our answer. Okay? So another way you could have turned 1 and 3/8 11/8 into a mixed number, that's an improper fraction, and we needed to change it into a mixed number where there's a whole number plus a fraction, right? 11/8 is 11 divided by 8. So if you had 11 of something and you were breaking it into 8 equal groups, you could only put 1 into each group, because if you put 2 into each group, you'd need 16, and you only have 11. So we can only put 1 into each group. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract, we have a remainder of 3. And we've been doing a lot of practice with writing the remainder as the numerator and the divisor, the number we divided by, as the denominator. And you see we get the same answer of 1 and 3/8 as we did when we drew this model. Okay, so 8 and 3/8 is the answer to that. I gave you a couple strategies for number 2, so give yourself some snaps if you got that. Great job. And number 3, our last one here before the challenge problem, which I'll make a video for that in a few minutes. It says to identify the product of 275 and 34. So you need to know that product is the answer to a multiplication problem. Okay, think when we do multiplication, I say, oh, there's the first partial product. That's part of the answer. The second partial product, we're going to be doing that in 1 second. So we are multiplying 275 times 34. Nice big numbers. See how big I write that? Give myself plenty of space. I'm not trying to squeeze. Some kids I see trying to like do their multiplication like this, and it makes it just a lot harder. So give yourself the space that you need. Nice big, even, nice big numbers, clearly written, and we will get started. 275 times 34, 275 times 34. So we're going to start in the ones place. We have 4 ones times 5 ones. So 4 times 5 is 20. You write the 0, the ones, and you carry the 2 tens. 4 times 7 is 28, plus the 2 tens that we carried makes 30 tens. So write down the 0, carry the 3, which is actually 300s. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. And since there's no other numbers here to carry to, we just write 11 here like this. So our first partial product is 1,100. So check yours. If you don't have 1,100, try to find where your mistake was. 20, 28 plus 2 makes 30, 8 plus 3 makes 11. So check yours now. Pause this if you need to. Then we're going to hold the ones place with a 0, and I put that smiley face like always because you have got to remember to put the 0 there. Because now we're done with the ones place here. We are working on the tens place. So we're going to multiply 3 times 5, but this is really 30. So we're doing 30 times 5. So if we don't put that 0 there, then our whole answer is going to be wrong because it's going to be in the wrong place value. So 3 times 5 is 15. Write the 5, carry the 1. But notice how that's really 150 because 30 times 5 is 150. We carried the 100 and we now have the 50 written here. And if we didn't put this 0, we'd have 5 there. And that would not be right, right? So 3 times 7, we did 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 7 is 21. Plus 1 is 22. Carry the 20. And then 3 times 2 is 6. Plus the 2 that we carried makes 8. And then just be very careful that you only have 2 digits in each place value. And our second partial product, that's part of the answer, is 8,250. So now since we have this partial product, that's 275 times 4 is 1,100. And then we did 275 times 30, which is 8,250. And now we are going to add those together and we are done. 0 plus 0, 0 plus 5, 2 plus 1, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So the answer is 9,350. And that is the product of 275 and 34. 9,350. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick estimate just to see if that is a reasonable answer. 275, that's about 300. We can round that up to 300. And 34, just to make our math a little easier, we can round that down to 30. It's very close to 30. So to make this math a little easier, 3 times 3 is 9. With 1, 2, 3 more zeros, our answer should be about 9,000. And since we got a final answer of 9,350, that is about 9,000. Then I am really confident that I didn't make any mistakes because my estimate is reasonable and my final answer is reasonable at this point. So that is it, and I'm confident about that. I just checked it by using estimation. And that's it. Give yourself some snaps. Nice work today. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll see you later. Bye.